Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with Mike Carroll and Bill Englehart. And how are you guys today?
Just getting older and older, just two old men.
Two old men? Getting
Talked to
older.
our friend Bob Taylor today.
Did you? What Bob?
Yeah, well, he said that you're never wrong.
What
You're right in everything.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Well, it's about time you recognize that.
Yeah,
That's what Blake Woodard said.
good old Bob.
I was going to say that's seems like a theme.
Well, you think people are starting to catch on?
You just now getting that after how many years have we done something together, David?
Yeah,
I've admitted I've been wrong before. I just can't remember when I ever did.
I thought I was wrong one time, but I was mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I thought there's an old joke about that where the guy said, "You got any flaws?" He said, "Yeah, I used to be conceited, but I worked that out."
All right, well, we don't have a ton of pictures this week,
I'll
but
try to be wrong right off the bat.
we've got a lot of familiar faces.
Oh, good.
Let me be wrong right off the bat.
Well, I think you're going to know most of these, if not all.
I'm gonna be wrong on purpose so I can get the monkey off my back.
Right.
Well, we could go back through the previous shows, but anyway. All right.
Let's do it. Let's correct it now.
All right.
That's Larry Christine.
Yeah, that would be wrong.
Is that Mrs. Steiner?
Nope.
Henniger?
No.
Who do you think it is?
Are you still trying to be wrong? Because you're doing a good
Trying to be
job of it.
wrong. Yeah, I know who it is, but I just want to be wrong.
Seriously, you do? You do know?
No, because that's bragging, so I'm not gonna say.
Celeste Connor says that's my grandma, Bessie Stevenson Helm.
Really?
That's what she
Well,
said.
so I would know.
I guess I was wrong on that.
I would
You
think.
know where she lived? She lived right on the corner by the North Board.
The chicken coop.
No, across the street from my lot. That first house, wasn't that Mrs. Helms?
Yeah, where they tore it down. Or was it there's an empty lot and then there's
Yes, the empty lot, then the big house.
there's a bungalow.
That's her, I
Bungalow.
think. That's where she lived, I believe.
Yeah.
Celeste will have to correct me.
That's a big chicken. I don't think it's going to lay any eggs.
No,
Well, the city's talking about letting people have chickens in their backyard.
We
That'll
are
be
talking
great.
about, yeah, that's an interesting thing.
That'll be a great day.
probably.
I wonder what they'll cock-a-doodle do.
Hmm.
All right.
There's Larry Christine.
Is that they're going to be your answer to every picture today?
Well, I'm gonna be wrong a lot, so get the monkey off my
That's
back.
a pretty young girl sitting on about like a 39
40,
Ford, something like that.
38, 39, 40,
Mhm.
Ford or Chevy. I'm trying to think who that is.
Well, that'd be pretty hard to figure out, seeing as how you weren't born yet.
Well,
Well, it could just be an old car.
no, that's a woman.
That's really a good guess.
Janelle Miscarper says it's Dorothy Williams McCumber.
Seriously.
Wow.
And Becky
Yeah.
Barnes Hollinsby says, my gosh, it sure is.
Yeah.
Gee.
Now that I look at her shoes, I can tell. She wore those shoes a lot. Yeah, she's got the smile. She always had that big
Oh,
smile.
boy.
She always had that big smile.
That's the neat picture.
That is. Back when you could sit on cars and not scratch the paint job.
Mhm.
I thought it was a cool picture. You guys are what, over 2 so far?
Well, I'm wrong. I've been wrong.
Yeah, well, you said,
The program turned on.
yeah.
We'll give you an easy one for the next one
I
then.
told you where Celeste's grandmother lived.
That's Bob, somebody.
That's Bob.
That's not the Bob we know.
That's Bob Ford.
This is Bob down at the old Ford garage.
Mm-hmm. Back when Gillenwater worked down there and Chet. What was it? Chet Moore and Gillenwater.
No, Chet Russell.
Chet Russell.
Chet Russell, Moore worked there, Gillenwater, Tommy O'Brien.
Tommy he worked there for a while. But that's Bob.
That's not Bob Manier.
No, that's Bob.
Yeah, that's Bob.
Well,
What's Bob's last name?
according to the I didn't think it really looked like Bob Manier either, but according to Rhonda Fair, it is.
That's who I thought it was.
Well, boy, I don't remember it
He
looking
was
like
our
Bob at
assistant.
that time.
It's a young
Huh?
Bob.
That's a real young Bob.
All right. Well, you guys probably won't know this next one.
Well, that's Gene Maloney. And when Smiley Burnett came to town.
It's going to be a long day.
Obviously,
It'll be a
Joe
long
Price
day.
and Doug McCumber.
Doug looks good there in that shiny sports coat.
Is Jimmy accepting the key to the city or what?
Looks like a check. I don't know who's receiving and who's giving.
Oh, yeah, the white background, the check disappears.
Well, Noah McCumber, Price is giving him money.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, see McCumber's big coat pocket?
Yeah.
That's where the check went.
Yeah. That's a good photo.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I don't want to imply any misdealings. Doug was a upright guy.
Yes.
I didn't imply it. Bill did.
I did.
Yeah.
And Doug would tell you it was all in jest.
Doug was a great guy, honorable guy. Tuscola misses him. He was, most people don't know this, on most major things that happened in Tuscola, he was deep on the inside. He had these connections. He had this personality. He didn't turn people off, and he steered so many projects the correct way, and we really miss him.
Well, just for people that might not know Doug as well as we do, make sure they know Doug was a super guy. He used to come into the paper on paper day before we go to press and read the paper before it went to press.
Yeah.
He wanted to know what was going on before it came out.
Doug may not be OCD, but he was a close cousin to it. He was a perfectionist, and he and I both gave a lot of public talks, and Doug would write his public talk out. And
I wonder if he turned his the screw heads on his switch plates all
he did.
vertical. Yeah.
But I would often give a talk for 20 minutes with nothing in front of me, and he said, "How do you do that? Aren't you worried about dropping the F-bomb or making some mistake?" And I said, "Well, yeah." But Doug was very careful, planned everything. He had a book he'd pull out. You'd say, "How about going to somewhere in 3 months?" He'd pull a book out and he'd have it mapped out. But that's a key to one of his successes. He was a James Scholar at U of I, very bright, accomplished.
Football games, he would make sure he had the pronunciations of the other team's players.
I think Doug did announce football 40 some years, and he only missed one game, and I actually did that game. Doug asked me to do it, and he gave me a list of all the names. He said, "Now listen, call the other coach before the game and have him pronounce all the names." Then he gave me a list of adjectives for when a runner took off. He bursted through the line, he sprinted, he bulldogged, and he gave me all these adjectives. So, obviously, when the game started, I just winged it. Talked about ruptured duck and all kinds of stuff and mispronounced names. And Doug got back and said, "That's it." He never missed another game the rest of his life. So I think I ruined it. And there's Mr. Stevenson.
This is sort of Doug McCumber Day on the program here.
That's good. Doug needs to be honored. He was a leader. There's Tom Stevenson, ran the nursing home. My mom was out there. Tom did a wonderful job. He was a great administrator. And there's Miss Harding, who owned it. I think, didn't they own it, the Hardings, or was?
In the end, I'm not sure if she was part owner or not.
I thought.
She's a nice lady.
Nice lady.
And very competent. She was very competent.
But Tom was a top-notch. If you have your parent have to go into one of these places, you want somebody like Tom, because he was no nonsense. If the aides or the nurses weren't taking care of your loved ones, he would set them straight, which is the way it should be in a nursing home. Well, there's Mr. Fleming in the middle. I think that's a CI.
Bill Fleming.
Bill Fleming over at Atwood. Bill Kleiss's son-in-law. And his son, Mitch, I think now is kind of his position at Ameren. It's over for him, yeah. They're good singers over there at the Atwood Baptist Church. That's Doug again, looking. Doug must just got back from Florida. Doug went to Florida in June because the rates were cheaper. No, it's because the kids were out of school. He talked about walking on the sand in July. He said you burn your feet. You couldn't go barefoot. Who's that on the far right?
It looks like I used a band director, but it's not. I don't know who that is.
I bet it's another Ameren guy.
I don't have any.
Got a thing on his belt.
I don't have the name on that one. Looks familiar, but I know this next one.
Oh boy,
There's a pair.
Roberto, the Red Baron. You talk about a human icon.
There's Bob Hastings with Doug McCumber. I believe that's a Tuscola Economic Development plaque.
Hey, Bob. For years of service, probably.
Bob did.
I might have that. I think I may have that plaque.
Bob, besides raising a large family and run the newspaper, he and Bev, Bob did so many civic things people weren't aware of. He kept baseball alive. He kept Babe Ruth League. He was American Legion, and he kept the EI League. I played baseball with him at American Legion for years, and then I pitched with the EI League team, and he was the coach. He was often bought the bats and balls with his own money, and then in charge of parades. Bob was one of those valuable public servants, patrons that every small town needs, and there was Doug. Doug played baseball for him. We had some good, and Bob was a little kid. When I see Bob, I think of Mark Twain. Bob had a young kid's heart. He could really be ornery sometimes. Greg Skinner knows that. Well, if Greg were here, Greg could tell some stories.
Well, he had a boat about the size of the steamship that Mark Twain would have gone.
Bob,
huge boat.
Bob liked to go overboard. We'd go on these golf trips, and we'd go to a restaurant somewhere. We went to a restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina one time, and Bob said, "What's the most expensive thing on the menu?" And they said, "The lobster and steak." He said, "I'll take that." And then Bob got a migraine. He used to get migraine headaches, and Bob got a migraine. Orville took him out to the car and laid him down. And so our food comes, we all eat it. We're all done, and there's Bob's lobster and steak. And so finally we said, "Well, I hate to have that go to waste." So we passed it around. Everybody took a piece of the steak or the lobster. It was all gone. And then Bob ran back in the restaurant and said, "Where's my meal?" "Well, it's gone, Bob." A lot of Bob stories. A great guy. I miss Bob. I miss both those guys. Tuscola is a lot lonelier place with guys like that gone. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think it'd be lonelier when you were gone?
Two good friends. Do I?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to miss us. I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to miss us.
Well, good.
They may miss us.
That guy works for AccuTurn, I think. I can't remember his name.
He went to school here. What is his name? Was he in Mills? I can't remember. Come on, David, help me.
Could be. I was checking to see if I had any.
He looks familiar.
Any help on it, but I don't see any comments.
Oh, I know her.
Go ahead.
That's Ann Lampke now.
Well,
She was Ann Miller.
Ann Miller from Oakland.
Oakland.
I think her dad owned the elevators down there.
Longtime principal, North Ward Elementary, and a good one.
Very bright.
And just a nice person.
She broke the glass ceiling. Was she the first female administrator at school?
I believe you're right.
She busted the glass ceiling. Married Fred Lamke.
Mm-hmm. I recommended that she be employed. She'd been down at Arcola teaching, and she came here as a title teacher. I recommended her to.
You reached out and rescued her through a lifeline?
Yeah, I threw her a lifeline.
He went to my church when I was growing up, and it was always really nice. Saw her
very religious.
not too long ago.
very strong Christian, a lot of ethics. Well, now there we have the Douglas County Gathering of the Faithful.
Okay.
Bob Errol, upper left-hand corner. And
Then we have
Stormin Norman Willoughby,
Rick Hackler,
the treasurer.
Pee Wee Cunningham down bottom left.
To the right is Margaret
Hackett.
Margaret Wetzel.
Wetzel.
Used to be my neighbor.
In the middle there, it looks like President Truman.
Might be a politician. I think it's a politician.
President Truman.
President Truman.
He is a politician, but not Truman. Mike, you're wrong. You're wrong, Mike Carroll.
Well, I got big shoulders. I can handle it. Who was it?
I don't know.
There's Harry Truman.
Mr. Nolan, who has a big tree down in his yard. Did you see that?
Yeah, he bought the old Dixon house. Which,
Yeah, where Mike Damlin
Mike
lived.
Damler, and then Dixon owned it before that.
Yeah.
Porter,
Talk about
is that who wrote that? Porter Cox,
Palmer Cox.
Palmer Cox lived there, and then Huckabee.
Places bolted together.
Needs a turnbuckle. Kevin was state's attorney here. Retired with Champaign. Now he's public defender.
For Champaign County or here?
Public defender here.
Okay.
Douglas County.
Well, you got a big tree down.
He's seen both sides. Dale Bateman.
Boy, there's a good guy. Knew a lot ag-wise. You had a question about plants and weeds and whatnot. He was a good person. He and his wife both. Margaret was a teacher in the school system.
His wife was my kindergarten teacher.
Dale was largely responsible for getting that new extension building built out near Ligas in the southwest corner of town. Instrumental.
Wouldn't it be neat to have a whole group of these pictures of people, influential people in the community? That would be.
It'd be a big picture.
It would be a big picture, a mural, perhaps.
There's Doug again.
Cumber's getting all the attention today.
Well, you know what?
Doug McCumber Day on the program.
You know what? If anybody deserves praise and honors, it's Douglas. There's our first female sheriff, I think, in Illinois. At the time was Sandy Decker. She was Sandy DeBolt, homecoming queen, 1955. Runs the paddy wagon out here. On the
Mother to Stephanie and Colby.
I believe I think she said she was the first female sheriff in Illinois. I don't know.
I know she was first female sheriff in Douglas County. That's for
I
sure.
think she may be the first in Illinois. She was appointed when someone resigned early.
She's also a classmate of my mother's. And
Yeah, was your mom 55? Class 55?
Put your head back.
well, I'm not sure which year, but I know they were in school together. And Sandy is still kicking, still going strong.
Yeah, I've got a booth. I've got a booth in the paddy wagon with my antique stoneware and some other items. And Sandy's, I think she's 86 years old, and she's down there working hard. She adds up all the transactions, issues the checks. That building's for sale.
I don't think she's quite that old.
That's 50, but she's 85.
You're not supposed to talk about women's age.
She's
Yeah.
class 55. I'm class 65, and I'm 76.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't
I'm
want
a
to talk
little
about.
younger.
Well, I hope Sandy doesn't watch this, but she's a great gal.
I don't think many people do watch it, so you don't have to worry about it.
Blake Woodard said he watches it. Down in
Oh.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, you get something wrong, you'll know. Mike will probably hear from a lot of people this week.
Well, I've got everybody in the world hawking me.
Hey, Charles Talbot, sheriff of Douglas County at one time.
Chuck Talbot was deputy sheriff under Gene Miller, and then became sheriff, popular guy.
He was chief deputy for Chubb Connor.
Yeah.
wasn't
And he was deputy for Gene Miller, then Chubb, and then he himself was elected sheriff for a while and retired down to Hinesboro, where he had a tobacco business.
Huh.
He knew where all the bodies were buried, and he's going to dig them up. There's that same.
That is Jeff Mills.
Yeah.
I feel certain.
That was the earlier picture, we think. Jeff.
Is that what it says?
Yeah. I think so. I think someone commented that you got in two pictures, and yeah, it says Mills. Doesn't do the
Yeah.
first name. Yep.
Huh.
So yeah, you got in two pictures.
Oh, now that's a neat pic. That's a lot of Tuscola history there,
Yep.
isn't it? Gordon, or not
Glenn
Gordon,
Adams
Glenn Adams
ran the Matco tool thing, lived down there.
on Main Street. He lived on Main,
He lived on,
across from the Crossman House.
yeah, he lived north of the Crossman's East Lake house. And that was the house. You with me when we looked at buying that and fixing it up?
Oh my God, man, what a
Big old 2.5 story Victorian, and
Tom Ray lives in the
Tom
house.
Ray tore it down and built a little house there now. And then he moved down on Penzance Street, Penzance and Embro, I think.
Mr. Adams did not drive fast. In fact, if you got behind him on the highway, it was about what, 30?
You and I would probably could drive behind him safely.
Now we could, yeah. Back then we couldn't. We had to pass him.
Bill and I are known as crawlers in town. They get up on our bumper so close we can't eat. We can see inside their dash, see what's on their.
Those tools were made in America.
Yes, they were.
This guy was made in America. That's Fred McDonald, guidance counselor at one time, and a real estate agent extraordinaire for many years.
Oh yeah.
Now president, I think he's still president of the Douglas County Retired Teachers. Maybe not, but he was at one time.
Yeah, he was my high school counselor and also my Sunday school counselor.
Did a lot of real estate deals with Fred, and he was very professional.
Oh, this
Bill,
is
here's
a
your
great
favorite. Here's your
picture.
favorite. Couple of your
Oh
favorites.
my gosh, yeah. Look at it. Well, these two had a fight over hairdo one year.
Well, they got the dryer went
And
crazy.
Susan Harris on the right, probably one of the best all-around female athletes I ever witnessed, without a doubt. Man, could she rebound. And that's the Hall of Fame coach. That's Beth Pugh, who also played all the various sports at Tuscola High School. As soon as the girls' sports started, Beth was very instrumental in pushing to get the sports started. She really was. Susan taught math at one time at East Prairie School. Wonderful math teacher, now up north, probably closer to retirement than I want to think about. And of course, Beth did retire. And very special girls. That's at the high
See
school.
that wall behind them, David? That ceramic brick's been there about 60 years. That would be there another 600 years if they don't tear it down.
Well, I'm sure it's probably painted over by now or something, but
That'd last forever.
I put that picture in just for you, Bill.
Well, two special girls.
Well, there's another one.
Yes, she is.
100 years old about a month ago.
Yeah.
She had a party. She turned 100. They brought her home. Becky and I went to dinner with Dick and Andrea Helm drove up from Georgia. Andrea drove up from Georgia just to go to her 100-year birthday party. They were best friends there. Doug, later in his life, took care of Dick Helm's mother, Doris. All of her affairs, very close, very good people. She's still kicking at 100.
Are you going to tell people who she is?
Yeah,
Catherine McCumber.
Catherine McCumber. I thought we said that. No,
No. It's Doug's
I
mom.
thought it was obvious.
Well, most people probably know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Larry Christine.
no. Jim Clark, president of the Willow Grove School Board, Tuscola graduate, Tuscola's first DARE officer, and did a wonderful, wonderful job in starting that program on drug education for grade 6 in Tuscola schools.
Went up to Champaign to be a police officer, and I think he's a lieutenant or something. He's in some.
Well, he's been retired for a few years.
But didn't he
now.
end in a command?
He ended up in a command role because he did a lot of the talking on behalf of the police department in some situations. Yeah.
I had built a nice house years ago that out in Patterson Springs. I
Yeah.
don't know if he still lives there or not, but
Think about it, Jim. Good boy.
Storm and Norman Foreman Willoughby,
Norman Willoughby from Atwood.
county board member,
Part of the Bill Huber auction team.
part of the Bill Huber Mafia.
Then he went to Springfield and worked for the
He got
state.
appointed, he was in charge of the
Yeah, you got
disciplinary board for realtors. He was in charge of all of them. And I had a good time. There's
Jeff
Henniger,
Henninger.
Jeff Henniger, who set our shot put record. Of the
Over 60 feet.
Yeah,
He was a big boy.
strong as a bull. I think Gene Murray one time said he's probably the best football athlete he's seen as a guy that's going to play major college. He said he had major college abilities. Murray's really impressed by him. Of course, he lives across the street from him, so maybe
That helped.
maybe cut Murray's grass.
Famous All Britain.
We've got a lot of famous cultural icons here.
Why don't we have an icon picture of us?
This is it.
Oh,
This is it right here.
You're on there. You're on there. You're down to the bottom.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, Amos worked for, was it CIPS?
Well, initially a Citizens Gas Company. And then it went to what? Silco, something. I don't know.
Silco.
Yeah.
And he was another guy that absolutely spent a lot of his life doing public service work, in charge of the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. He
was always there helping whoever it was, doing whatever they wanted. Very, very public spirit.
his sons, Max and Greg Albritton.
His wife was famous for being the head of the draft board, which was very important in the 60s.
Yeah, sure was.
That's Larry Christine.
Yeah, that's Larry Christine.
That's one of our favorite. That's probably my favorite grade school basketball coach.
I know one thing. Oh God, he'd be saying something to us now.
Oh,
Geez.
Carol,
Yeah.
you're going to be no damn good. He told me the 70s.
No
Right?
damn
You're no damn good.
There, for those that,
Bill was a prophet.
for the rare person in Tuscola who doesn't know who this is, it's Bill Burris.
If Bill is not in the Basketball Coach Hall of Fame, he should be. I
He
think
was
Bill was
my, he taught me how to drive.
he was about class of 53, I think, with Chad Marsh and those guys, and great basketball player in high school, played football, all around athlete, went to Eastern. When Bill and I were playing 7th and 8th grade sports, Bill's a young teacher out of Eastern a couple of years, and while we were doing layups and stuff, he would be over there with, they put a towel on the floor and fluff it up, put a plastic ball up, he hit tree woods. Remember that? He loved golf. He loved golf. He also, whenever you goofed up in a grade school game, and Bill was fairly mercurial. He would call you out of the game, and he had a wet towel he was doing this to. He was wrapping a wet towel, and he would snap you with a wet towel. And so I would run to the end of the bench, and I'd hook slide into the bench, and so trying to avoid the snap. Everybody loved Bill. Everybody loved Bill.
Bill was a young man. He worked for O.B. Smith at the gas station on Main Street. And that's where I became acquainted with him, and I did think a lot of him.
Oh, I think you
Wonderful
were Bill.
guy.
Well, another guy we missed.
Yes, we do.
The town seems fairly empty. There's Ace Gilmore on the left.
This is a rare photo here.
Yeah,
This is inside the TY Tower.
yeah. Those are all the levers.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And that was at a time when there was some effort to save the TY Tower because they were going to tear it down. It's a historical structure.
That's Sally Foote in the background. Craig Hastings.
Yep, that's Craig.
Anita Summers, and is that Anita Summers in the middle?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Who's on the right there? The plan was to disassemble it board by board and label it, take all the gears out, and reassemble it in the parking lot of the community building. And I was pushing I'm a historical preservationist, really love history, and I I wanted to save it, and the county board, the city council vote was 7-1 not to do it. As one person said, it's just an old building. I said, yeah, most historical structures are.
And it was historic?
It was very historical. It's featured in, I'm not a railroad aficionado, but if you read the railroad books, this is featured in a lot of the books, pictures of it at the Diamonds. TY Tower at the Diamonds.
Is that Joan Armstrong on the right?
I think it is Joan.
Bracelets?
Yeah, she looked a little.
Man, she looks a little heavy there.
She looked heavier than I remember her.
She looks heavier than I remember too, but now I see in the face.
Well, she got the glasses. She got the shaded glasses, the little red wispy hair. I think it probably is Joan.
Should I have not said bracelets?
Well, she wore a lot of bracelets.
That's what they.
That was her nickname.
Her,
That was her nickname.
Yeah.
Who's the guy on the medal?
I don't know. I mean, I can't see her well enough to tell. It's coming.
Well, Anita was pushing. Anita, who was running the museum at the time, was pushing very hard to save it.
That doesn't look like Anita.
I know, but she was someone advocating for its.
I remember the guys that worked there.
Yeah.
Wilson from Arcola and Bob Moomaw.
Bob Moomaw.
Bob Moomaw. You know, go back to Bob. I was a kid and I was just hanging around the railroad tracks, and Bob Moomaw saw me and invited me up for a tour of the TY Tower.
I'll be darned.
Did Dennis Pickett work there from Tuscola?
Probably.
So I got to go inside.
Yeah. Another Tuscolian by way of Bill Grove. For sure.
Bill Lamb.
Bill Lamb.
Bought the old Kahneman furniture store and added on to it. I mean, he bought the Four Seasons, who bought it from Kahneman. Bob Kahneman, Four Seasons, then Phil, and then Jim Higgins.
Probably the nicest car showroom in the United States.
Phil was I think he actually had an engineering degree, if I'm not mistaken, and he was an engineer for General Motors. And I think worked on maybe the Corvette back then. Very, very smart guy, very knowledgeable about cars, and in fact is quite a car collector.
Yeah, he's got some really cool cars. We run into him and his wife seems like about 3 times a week. We're on the same dining schedule as they are, I think.
Yeah.
I think Phil's class of 65, Bill Grove.
Close. Well, there's Doug and Sally Foote, who's
Long-time veterinarian in Tuscola.
long-time vet, and then when Jarman was closing, she and her husband, I think, well, it was her parents or his parents, jumped in and bought Jarman and rescued it, kept alive, and made it a assisted living.
Sally buy Bob Smith's practice? You remember?
Well, she had her own, didn't she?
Well, she had her own, but I wondered if.
I don't know.
When he retired, I can't remember.
It's hard to sell
Sally was here for a long time.
It's hard to sell a professional.
No, they're still here. In fact, I saw her husband Tom walking in my neighborhood just yesterday.
I see Sally walking uptown.
It's very hard to sell a professional service firm, unlike a store, for example, because people often go to Doc Smith because they like Doc Smith. They go to Sally because they like Sally, or they go to me because they like me. So when you retire, your clients don't automatically go to the next person. So there's very personal.
I liked Doc Smith, but my pets didn't.
Good old Doc. Well, Doug's looking good. You didn't see Doug in a dirty oil-soaked T-shirt very often.
No, that's how you always saw Doug.
These guys. Hey, this is great.
Yeah. So you think at some point, David, will the 3 of us be icons?
Well, you two are already icons.
Well, we're old enough. We got to be over. You got to be 75 or older. Are you 75 now?
I'm going to be.
How soon? Tell them your birthday.
No, you drug me into that. No,
I did. I drug you right in.
I did. No.
When's your birthday, Bill?
It's coming up.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Yeah. I will tell you this. there's some good news about that birthday. Fishing license go down to $1.50. Can I borrow the money?
So there's that.
So if you like to go fishing, you fish?
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought fishing and bowling and some of that stuff was an excuse to drink a nice ice chest full of beer.
I like to go fishing, but I don't like to fish.
Tuscola's #1 golfer this coming school year organized the pickleball tournament on
Brandon Gal.
well, his mother helped too.
I heard it was really good.
And it turned out to be really good.
Very organized.
Yeah. Well, Braden Goff is a
Great.
Braden is an outstanding young man. I think a lot of him.
David, your article on where the screws in your electric plates are straight up and down. Duffel confessed to me that was him.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, was I not supposed to say that on the air?
I don't. Doesn't
Doesn't
bother me.
admit to nobody. Hank Groves, that's how you do it. So Hank was a good guy, good carpenter.
Well, I have it on good authority that his brother Drew's house is the same way.
Well, Bill and I don't even know if ours are screwed on.
Well, I asked my wife if I should go around the house and turn all the screws vertical, and she didn't think that was necessary. So
Is that low on your to-do list or honey list? How do you
on
do
my
that?
list, but yeah, I probably won't get to it today.
My list had the contractor at the house today up on the roof.
I got my roof, I had the adjuster here, nice guy from Texas. Talked to him. He says I get a new roof and new gutters.
Wow.
He says, you guys,
Nice guy from Texas.
Hey, they
There's a
call-
guy from Texas coming to my house.
well,
too.
they're calling him from all over the nation. There was so much damage as this went through Illinois. They just are calling them all over. And
Any damage? But
he said north of town, he said Iron Horse and Parkview got beat up pretty bad.
yeah, we're in Hillcrest. We didn't have any damage.
He said you got small hail south of town out there, Hillcrest.
Yeah, we got a new roof the last time it hailed.
Yeah. Well, let's just, every 15, 20 years, you just root for a hailstorm.
Yeah.
Well, David, everything else going well with you? Are you now having to work your tail off on these magazines you took over and everything? Are you working hard?
Yeah, I got plenty to do.
Well, I'm glad you messed with this program here. I mean,
Thanks for helping out on the time change.
Well, this is
And I
the
do have-
highlight of the week for me. So
well, I've got confirmation. One young guy, Blake Woodard, said he watches us down in Jacksonville, Florida. Blake works.
Does he have nothing else to do?
Well, he works for Shad Khan and the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's in charge of selling those luxury boxes at the stadium. I said, "How's it going?" He says, "Well, it's a lot easier to sell them when you win." And
Yeah.
last year they won a playoff game and should have probably beat Kansas City, the eventual national champs. So they're back. They're back. So, Blake, if you're listening, hello. Thanks for watching. And I was wrong 7 times today,
at least.
at least. So the monkey's off my back.
Okay. Anything else before
Becky,
we close?
Nothing.
Nothing,
Better
Becky?
back.
There's another icon.
Yeah. Beck's the most famous of us all.
Actually, she is.
She is. She is.
He
Well,
is.
David, thanks for once again for this public service you do of digitizing the history of Tuscola. And on behalf of Doug McCumber, thank you for all the photos. Well,
Doug was in a lot of them.
Well, Doug was in charge of a lot of things at Tuscola Development Corporation, the bank. Doug was a huge public figure.
Well, I
I'm
just
telling
checked
you, I'm telling you, when you lose these small town patrons, these public servants like Amos Albritton or Bob Hastings or Doug McCumber in our area, the town is diminished.
Well, and there's a lot of icons in town, and I just stick my hand in the box and pull out a bunch of photos. I don't have a file that has all Tuscola greats in it. But if you look through the other photos, we've got lots of pictures of. We've got the two of you. We've got Frank Lincoln. We've got Bill Huber. We've got all kinds of Tuscola iconic people, and so don't think that I just look for iconic people and omitted certain ones. They're all random.
I know, but that's who's in the paper. Your leaders are in the paper, your politicians are in the paper, your public officials. But we've shown a ton of pictures from school kids and athletes, and we hope we've reached out to everybody in town. Everybody's important for a town.
Yep. All
I
right.
know a lot of people follow it on the Facebook, but it's on our show's now on YouTube, as you pointed out, so they can see us on YouTube. Remembering Tuscola.
Yep. You go to YouTube, search for Remembering Tuscola. There we are.
There we are.
So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week on the Remembering Tuscola webcast.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Thank you.